In this video, I'll teach you how to model in Plasticity. We're going to look at the practical side, so you know how to run booleans, how to run surfaces, how to run curves, etc. Now, if you want to learn how to download it and install it and how to understand all these menus, then watch my other video, you can see it on the screen right now, in which I explain everything in detail. So once you watch that and you're ready to go, come back here and you can learn how to model. Alright, so let's get started. Now, before we start, if you're really into 3D and really serious about learning hard surface, check our Academy 2.0 program. It's a fantastic curriculum of courses, including all of our courses and assets, plus a networking group and private community on Discord, and also weekly Q&A calls where you can get access to us directly, ask questions, and get feedback. Now, we're expanding into Plasticity content right now, so if you're going to lock in your access at current price point, you're going to be smiling in the future when we're going to be adding free Plasticity content for you. So check it out, the link is in the video description and we can get started. When you open Plasticity for the first time, you will see just empty space and a cube in the middle, that's it. Now again, word of warning, I'm going to be using Blender preferences. So if I go here on the preferences, I chose Blender, which means some of the shortcuts may vary. So if you set it to something else like Maya, Moi 3D, whatever, you may have different shortcuts, so be careful. Now, if you want to learn more about how to set the UI and you know how to understand all the menus, go ahead and watch my other video, you can see it on the screen. That's where I explain all the basics. Now here we're gonna be talking mostly about modeling and you know like booleans, mirroring, how to add curves, what you can do with them, etc. Okay, so first let me show you how to navigate the scene. It's really easy. If you want to rotate, you press middle mouse button and you can rotate your scene. If you want to rotate around an object, press 4 for solids here, right? Then click on a cube or whatever you want to rotate around and simply press middle mouse button and rotate. Okay, now if you want to zoom in and out, you simply scroll your mouse or hold Control and hold your middle mouse button pressed and just move your mouse up and down to really zoom in or out quickly. If you want to pan, hold Shift, middle mouse button pressed, and you can pan, and that's about it. All right. If you want to switch between orthographic and perspective, you simply press numpad 5, and if you want to adjust the view angle, you hold Alt, right, and you press middle mouse button and you just gesture, and it's going to switch automatically into orthographic mode. Just be aware of that. You can see here in the top what kind of orientation you're in, so it's front, left, back, top, bottom, etc. Really easy, right? So that's the basics. Now if you want to move stuff, rotate or scale, you have all the options in here, but no one's gonna go there because it's too far. What you want to do is you want to use shortcuts. So G for movement, right? I guess it's for go. You can use these handles, so simply press GX or GZ or GY, right, to move. You can also press GG to move in space. Now, if you want to exclude one of these axes from movement, you can press, for example, G and Shift Z. This will move it on Y and X only. If you want to go with G and Shift X, you will be moving it only on Y and Z. Now, if you align yourself to this axis, so let's say to Y axis, press GG, you're going to be moving in orthographic along the Y and Z, but not along the X. So you can see here, it doesn't move on X, but it moves on Y and Z. So, you know, that's the basic of movement. Control Z is basically undo, and Shift Control Z is redo. So if I, for example, move this cube somewhere here, and then duplicate it, right, like this, and, I don't know, rotate it, okay, with R, then I can press Alt Z to undo it, and I can press Shift Control Z to redo it, right? All right, if you want to refresh the scene, just new file and you're good to go. Now let's talk about rotation and scale. Very simple, just press R to rotate, and you can choose these gizmos, so just like with movement, you know, RX, and you can rotate like this. Scaling is for S, so SS. Another thing that you should know about the gizmo is when you press G, R, or S for scaling, rotating, or movement, you're gonna see these squares. And these squares kind of combine two axes into one. So if I'm going to use this one, right, I'm going to move it on Z and Y. Here I'm going to move it on X and Z. And here I'm going to move it on Y and Z. Now, if you want to move it on all axes, you simply grab this circle and you can move it freely, just like with GG. So if I want to scale it on all axes, simply use this circle and rotate it with your mouse. But it's easier to press SS, it's just quicker, okay? Alright, so let's talk about basic operations like, for example, booleaning. So if you want to boolean something, let's say you want to duplicate this cube, so press Shift D, just like in Blender, Shift D. And we're going to move it somewhere here, and maybe, somewhere here, right? And right click to approve. You always press right click to approve operation. When you're booleaning something, you first want to select the object you want to cut. Then you want to select the boolean object, which means the one you're going to be using as a cutter, okay, or modifier. So select this one, then press Q and Shift select the cutter, or what you can do is select them both and press Q. So select them with Shift, yeah. Now the red color denotes a difference boolean, which means you're going to be subtracting from your mesh. If you press Q again, you're going to have a union boolean. If you press Shift Q, you're going to be slicing. You can see that the slice appeared in here. And you can press Alt Z to enter the X-ray mode, or you can press this icon in here on the top, so you can see what you're doing actually. And Shift E is going to be the intersection boolean, right? Now if you want to go back to difference boolean, just press W, because that's a shortcut for difference boolean, and you're good to go, and then right click to approve, okay? Now boolean's gonna disappear, but if you want to keep it, you can actually press T, and you can also see it on the menu. So if I select this one and this one, press Q, one more time, this one, and Shift select this one, press Q, you can see that I can press T here, which is here, keep tools. So press T and right click, and I'm gonna boolean this mesh, but I'm gonna keep the boolean. Right, this is actually quite cool when you want to create multiple cuts with the same sized boolean. Right, so that's a boolean operation in a nutshell. Okay, now word of warning if you're using sheets. So for example, if this cube here wasn't a solid, which means a manifold mesh, if this mesh was open, so I'm going to press 3 for faces, select the face, and Shift X to delete the face. If I'm going to boolean this right now, you'll see that my boolean is going to be open. So if I boolean this one more time, Shift select that Q, boom, you see that? It's an open a cut here. If you're seeing something like this, it means you're booleaning a sheet, not a solid. So you need to close your mesh before you boolean. And the way you do that, basically, is by patching it. So select the mesh and you can patch it, and it's going to patch all the holes that it can patch. Unless the hole isn't patchable, you need to kind of manually close it, because it's too difficult for the patch command to be executed. Okay, now let's talk about mirror, because mirror is a bit, it takes a bit of time to get used to it when you're coming from Blender. Now the shortcut is identical to hard ops, which is Alt X. So if I want to mirror this cube across the Y-axis, I'm gonna G and move it in here. Then I'm gonna press Alt X and select the direction from which I'm mirroring, which is really intuitive, just like it's literally like hard ops. So you mirror and right click to confirm. Now this plane here is a plane of mirroring, which means you're mirroring across this plane. So when you right click to confirm, everything is peachy. So now what happens when you want to mirror your object across itself and the gizmo is actually always appearing here in the middle of the world? So let me show you. I'm gonna grab this cube here, I'm gonna boolean this cube, and by the way, by default you're gonna be entering a boolean operation. If you don't want that to happen, you can see in the bottom, you can press B for new body, and it's going to create a new object. But by default, if you're going to draw a solid on a solid, it's going to subtract it. So it will perform a difference boolean operation. So let's approve this and right click to confirm. And if I wanted to mirror this across itself, so now pay attention because this is a bit confusing. So when I press Alt X to mirror this, the gizmo is going to pop to the middle of the world. I don't want it there, I want it in the middle of my cube because I want to mirror this to the other side. So what you want to do is you want to use this freestyle option, which is here, F. Now this is going to be something you're going to be using a lot, so get used to it. Now F, it's going to make this gizmo go away, and now you can choose where to place the center of your mirror. So we want to find the middle of the cube, which is here. You can see we have snapping enabled, so we can snap to the middle of the cube. Now click with the left mouse button and you will see a mirror gizmo. Currently we're mirroring across this cube on the x-axis. So if I'm going to draw to the right or left, the gizmo will shift. I want to mirror from the right to the left. So I need to draw it vertically, okay? So if I'm going to draw this down, you see that I'm mirroring from left to right, which is not what I want. And now here also you can see this blue line. This blue line will allow you to snap to the middle of the cube, so it's not going to be angled, but it's going to be perfectly mirrored across the middle of the cube. So what I need to do is I need to draw this up to mirror from the right side to the left side. Okay, so draw it until you snap to this edge here, and this will indicate that we are in the middle of the cube and we slicing it, perfectly on the y-axis, okay? So left click and then right click to confirm. But before you right click, you can see here there's an option to merge halves together, because if I confirm this now, I'm gonna have two halves separately. So you will need to, unless that's your intention, shift select them both and press Q twice and right click to confirm to boolean them as a union. But what you can do, you can actually mirror this. So Alt X one more time, press F, and then draw to the top and left click. You can press Q or click on this option, right, to merge them off the mirror, and then right click and you're good to go. As a tip, I can tell you that it's easier to do it in the orthographic view, so you can align yourself with Alt and middle mouse button to whatever you wanna, whichever side you wanna mirror, and then do it. So let me show you. I'm gonna create another cut here, okay, just to illustrate that better. I'm gonna align myself here, and now I wanna mirror from right to left. So I'm gonna press Alt X and then press F, right, and I'm gonna draw up. It's a little bit easier, you see, and right click to confirm, and I get two halves, so I can merge them together with Q, right click, and I'm done. So that's how mirror works in Plasticity. Now, this is gonna be a bit more complicated, but the F menu goes a bit deeper. So let me show you what it does, for example, with scaling. If I wanted to scale this on all axes, I press S, SS. If I wanted to scale it on Z, SZ. But what if I wanted to scale it down from this face, right? What do? Well, you can use freestyle menu again. So you can press S for scaling, F for freestyle, select the point from which you want to scale, then select the point on the bottom and just simply pull it down. And you're gonna be able to scale from this face. So this face on top will not move, and everything will kind of stretch away from that point. So play with the freestyle because it's actually really powerful. Now another trick that you need to know is the V point. V point is basically a pivot point, and you can shift it to achieve different results with scaling, moving, etc. So let me show you on rotation. So if I press R, I can rotate this cube around its origin, meaning the middle of this cube, around its center. I don't want to do that. I want to rotate it around the this edge. So what I need to do, I need to set the pivot point to that edge to use it as a pivot point to rotate around. So if I press V, I can select where I want to place the gizmo. I can place it in here. Now be careful, because this will inherit the normal orientation of edge or face. So if it's slanted, the gizmo is going to be slanted too. And you can press whichever axis you want to rotate around, and be careful because it will shift. So for instance, now Z is along here, you can see, right? So if I press Z, I'm going to rotate like this, okay? So there you go. You can hold Control to snap it to increments by 5 degrees. So that's actually really useful as well. All right, cool. Let's talk about some other operations that you may need to know, and it's curves. You're going to be working with curves a lot. So I'm going to show you some very basic lofting, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a curve. So go here and hold, choose this curve, which is a control point curve. Go to the right view with Alt and middle mouse button, and then simply draw a curve with the left mouse button and right mouse to confirm. Then Shift D to copy that, and SS to scale it, all right? And we're going to press 1 for verts, points, and just move this somewhere here down like that and confirm. And then we're going to mirror this to the other side. So we're going to have something like that. Now, what you can do, you can select them and loft between them. It's important to select edges in an order of lofting. So if you select like that, it will not work very well for you. It's going to be a fucking mess, right? Unless that's what you want. So if you want to loft across, you want to select in order with Shift, like this, in order of lofting, and then press L to loft. Now, what you can do in addition to that, you can define the curvature or the profile of this loft, right? So you see that select the guides. We don't have any guides, but we're going to create them. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this curve, and we're going to actually let's go maybe with this one. So hold and click on this spline curve, and we're going to combine all of these together like that, and right click. And in the back, we're going to do something different, okay? So we're going to grab, let's say, this circle, hold, and we're going to go to 3-point circle, and we're going to click once, twice, and thrice, and do that. okay? So now watch. If I want to loft this, right? So I'm going to select all these, which defines the surface across which, I mean the curves across which I want to create a surface. Press L. And now you can hold shift and determine or define the profile of this loft. Now this didn't work for a reason. It's basically selecting this entire area and lofting gets confused. So what you want to do is you want to trim it. Now in order to trim something, you need to make sure that all these edges are actually connected, all right? So in our case they are. So what you could do is press T for trimming, and you could trim this, you see, turns white like that. Or if you want to keep that, you can press Alt J, and Alt J will explode this into bits. So watch this here on the left. I want to press Alt J, boom, we got additional elements, and we're going to have this one, and this one, right? So now what you want to do, you want to merge them together with J, and you can merge sheets together as well. You're going to use J to join them. You can't merge solids, you need to boolean them, but you can merge sheets and you can merge curves into, one curve. And then we can use that as a guide. So now we're going to do it again with Shift, press L, Shift, select this one, Shift, select this one, and PG, right? So that's how you loft. That's a very basics of lofting. You can always use patch. So what we could do is try to patch this, right? So I could select this one, and this one as a sort of a parameter of patching. I'm going to use a patch command here, right? But the issue here is that I can't select this edge as a guide anymore. You see that? I can't do that. And if I'm going to select all of them, patch will simply not work. It's just impossible to patch. So you need to patch in bits and pieces, right? So see here, lofting in this situation would be a better tool. You can also use Xnubs for operations like this, but Xnubs come only with studio versions. So let me show you. I can press F for Xnubs and start selecting, these edges it's really fun to work with, to select this area, and then I can choose this one as a guide, but that didn't work. So now if something doesn't work, you can have to try it a different way. So watch this. I'm gonna first select these edges, right? Then I'm gonna go with Xnubs, and then I'm gonna select this as a guide, and that worked. So if something doesn't work for you, try from a different angle. Loft from a different side. Use different edges for lofting. Now, really important thing to understand and remember is that when you're using lofting and patching especially, Xnubs are a bit more forgiving, but patching and lofting is very sensitive to closed loops. So basically what you need to have edges connected together. So for example, if I delete that, so press 4 for objects, and I'm gonna click on that and delete it. Let's say I'm going to disconnect this edge, so I'm gonna move it slightly here, right, like this, and I'm gonna connect these two, GG, and hold Control and snap it, but this one's gonna be disconnected, right? So watch this, it will not work, right? I'm gonna loft these, okay? And if I want to select this as a guide, it will not work because it's not connected, right? So you gotta be really careful. Sometimes there's like a tiny gap, and you're gonna have a problem. So that's the basics of lofting, patching, and basically working with curves. There's a lot more to it, but you're gonna pick up all the tricks just watching my tutorials or courses. All right, so now let's talk about another thing, that's cutting with curves, because it's also very, very useful. Let's say you have a cube here, so we're gonna draw a cube, right? And by the way, when you're drawing a cube from a center, you can press C to toggle and draw from the middle like that, right? So let's say I wanted to slice it very quickly with a specific shape, just like with Ngon in Blender using box cutter. So I can grab this edge here, press Shift A, and I can start drawing a shape, right, like this. And if you can't see a shape, press Alt Z, and draw a shape here, and approve it. Press 1, select this by drawing from the left corner, drawing like a rectangle. Press B for bevel and move it up to create a bevel, and then with this curve selected, right, press C, then select the body you want to cut and right click, and then X to delete it and delete your curve, and you got a really quick boolean. Now curves are fantastic for cutting, for example, corners and trimming. Watch this. If I go to curve, this bridge curve, and I'm gonna click here and click here to create a bridge. Of course you can adjust it to whatever you want, and it's going to maintain the tangent connections here on these edges. and I'm going to approve that, I can press C, left click, right click, and then 4, select that, and you could, if I toggle all the edges now, Control E, you can see that it is just a perfect tangent slice along this, cube. It's really amazing what you can do with these curves. So play with them. It's a fantastic tool. That's how you can very easily slice mesh. And if Control E doesn't work for you, which is a custom command, I think you can go to F, just type toggle edges, and you can assign shortcut here by right clicking. And by the way, you can also add stuff to favorites. So if I press F, you can see I have a favorite menu in here. You can right click and add to favorites or remove from favorites. And you can use, like commands using all the time from that. But I encourage you to get the radial menu. Radial menu is fantastic. Go to Plasticity website and simply learn how to do that. It's super simple. You just copy the code, inject commands that you want to use, drag and drop to Plasticity, done. And then you go to F menu and you can find it on the radial menu and assign shortcut. Mine is Shift Q, and you're good to go. Now the basic operation is going to be beveling, so go to 2 for edges, select an edge and bevel. You can copy size of a bevel to another edge. You can do it like this, so you can bevel and click on the other edge to copy that. So you can see the bevel is small. Click here and it's the same size. You can also press Control, so when you're beveling, you can hold Control and select whichever edges you want to add to this beveling equation. And until you confirm this bevel, you can just keep on clicking, right? And approve, and you're good to go. You chamfering the same way, just drag the other way, right? So that's chamfering. Now, if you're gonna have, let's say, a loop, be aware that the bevel is gonna go around. So let me show you. If I have a loop here, like this, and I select one edge here, Plasticity will detect this loop going around. So watch, it's just gonna loop the whole thing, right? Now, if you want to remove bevel, you simply press 3 for faces and alt-click on the loop and X, or you can click on the face and X to delete it. Now, if you want to remove these bevels, by the way, in Plasticity, bevels are called fillets. So if you're going to go to F command, look for bevels, good luck. You need to look for fillets, okay? So if you want to, for example, remove fillets from the shell, you find that, you click that, it's going to highlight all of them in red. And you right-click to confirm, and everything is gone. Now, if you want to add edges to your mesh, let's say you wanted to, add an edge here. You press Ctrl R and press Tab to switch the direction. And you can also snap to, let's say, a center and click, and it's going to add an edge. Another way of doing that is going to be imprinting edges. So let's say you wanted to, imprint a specific curve, right? So go to spline curve and, do something like this. And you wanted to imprint it on your mesh, very easy. Go to F menu, look for imprint, and here you have imprint curve body. So select that, click on the body, right click, and you're good to go. Then if you want to move this face, for instance, you press 3, click here and move. So now let's talk about transforming faces. So let me just renew this, refresh this file. I'm gonna press 3 for faces, click here, right? And I can move this face by this, by this gizmo. You can also extrude stuff, so press E for extruding, and you will see a color. Now this is going to add basically this part to this one. It's got union boolean color, right? If I'm going to press B, I will create a new body out of this. So it's kind of like a shift control curve extract in hardops. If I approve this, right, you got a cube on top of it, right? Now you can also move faces with fillets. So if I have a fillet in here and I have a face here, you can actually move it like that, which is fantastic. If you're going to move a fillet alone, it's just going to make it larger or smaller. So there you go, and that's the basics of, moving, and also move face through the mesh. So let's say you got a cut. Let's say you have a cut here, like this, right? So you got a cut, and let's say you wanted to cut it through. It's really easy in Plasticity because all you do is grab a face, and you do this, and you're done. So that's about it on Plasticity basics for modeling. If you want to learn more, obviously watch my YouTube tutorials, so just grab our courses. Like I said, we're going to be expanding into Plasticity very soon. So by the time you're watching this video, maybe we already released our first course. And this course obviously going to be added to our Academy 2.0. Like I said in the beginning, if you're really serious about learning 3D, grab Academy 2.0 and lock in your access right now at the current price point, because eventually the price is going to be going up. So, you're going to be quite chuffed when the content is going to be landing on your hands for free in the future. The link to Academy is in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.